Dean, we'll talk video game, man, but you got 2 seasoned martial artists in the room too, man.
Hey, I was just about, I'm getting into it. I'm getting fed all this info. My next one was going to be, how many street fights y'all get into? Just go ahead.
Zero.
Zero.
To be honest, and everybody said something like this before, that especially now, like for example, I think back. I'll give a perfect example. So I'm playing indoor soccer, right? My kid plays soccer, so I'm a martial artist playing soccer. It's either front kick, round kick, or side kick, and I just have to remember not to kick high when we're playing soccer. I've gotten in trouble for kicking high before, so it's like, okay, all right, let me keep it waist level. And we're getting smashed by this team. I'm like, it's like 12-0. And the guys on that team, most of them were like, hey, we're passing around our girls. We swapped out our goalie. There's no way they're going to lose. So they're not being complete, what's about it, right? Except for this one guy in defense. I stole the ball. It was going to run up to be a one-on-one situation with the goalie. And the guy just, he hooks my arm. And I'm like, you can't let me have this one goal. You're going to actually, hold me. So I did this. He still was holding me. So I stopped, put my hand under his underarm, and as I push forward, I swept his leg. So he goes flying, lands on his face, but he jumps up and gets in my face. And I was like, dude, it's a foul on you. Just step away. And he wants to get chest to chest with me. And I want you to stay where I can see you. And in my mind, I'm like, if this guy swings at me, I might have to tag him. But then I start thinking like, government clearance, got this, got that, and I'm just like, and I'm just slowly retreating from the situation. Like, please don't make me defend myself.
Yeah,
and just also thinking that I probably could have hurt him and everything.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, all right, it's not worth it. I'm just going to step away.
This was indoor soccer.
It's indoor. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, see, and I was actually explaining that to my students, right? Because I was kind of teaching a lesson on confidence, and confidence is where it's at. Confidence is how you carry yourself. Confidence is, is bully repellent is what I tell them. Right. And I say, if you are confident, bullies are insecure, right? They're not going to pick on someone that's confident. They're going to move on. They're going to look for someone that can't make eye contact, heads low. And so I say the ironic thing is that in martial arts, you learn confidence. And if you are confident, you may never have to use your martial arts. But if you don't have developed that confidence, you might have to use it, right? Because you're bait, and the answer to that question for me is one. And, this was, a forced, it was a forced situation. I was in high school. I was a friendly. And I was late to gym, and I ran downstairs. I was in the locker room, and I was trying to change. And there was one other kid that was also there, and he was late, but he was one of those kids, he didn't really care. And he was a big dude, right? And he saw me, and I don't know, high school, I'm like, what, 115 pounds, maybe 120. And he goes, yo, man, what you got? What's up? And he just kind of corners me, and he just starts kind of jabbing at me in the gut. And I was like, come on, man, what you got? And I was like, man, stop. I kept telling him to stop. He's like, come on, what you got? And he kept hitting me. And it was to the point where like, his tears were starting to come out because he was kind of tagging me hard. I was like, dude, stop. And he wouldn't stop. He took one step back, gave me just enough room. And I did one kick. I did a side kick, boom, right in his throat. Yeah. I actually panicked because I thought I killed him, because he grabbed his throat and he stepped back. And he couldn't breathe. He goes, I was like, oh my God, I killed him. I thought I crushed his trachea. And then he said, all right, you got it, man, you got it. And that was it. But I waited till the last possible moment to do it. And I was scared. I thought I killed him. Now, here's a funny story, Mal. You'll appreciate this because I was almost in another street fight. We were doing prestige practice. So Team Prestige, Prestige is kind of back in the day was a big martial arts team, had some of the best competitors out there. And we were doing practice at Georgetown. and we're talking Hakeem and Shaw and Ibby and I think Akbar.
Akbar. There we go.
Akbar. So anyway, best fighters around, and we were walking Wisconsin and M. We were walking up Wisconsin, and there was like a fraternity of drunk guys coming down.
So this is near Georgetown.
This is Georgetown. This is the intersection. Yeah. So my school at the time was around Georgetown, GW, American. It was all colleges, and so Team Prestige is walking up. These drunk college frat boys are coming down, and all of a sudden I hear this ruckus. I'm like, what's going on? And like we're in a crosswalk. So like I'm trying to peek over. I was like, what is going on? And I hear all this hitting and boom. By the time I get there to the action, it's over because there's a bunch of frat guys all lying in the street. Because I was getting ready. I was like, okay, here comes the fight. It's coming to me. I was like, oh, it's done.
Oh, it's done. It's over.
And there's these frat guys all over the street. I'm like,
do you know what fraternity it was?
No.
Whatever. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's great. I like that.
They made eye contact. They gave words to the wrong people that day.
So with your bully jabbing you up, hitting you in the breadbasket and everything, how come he didn't, just tag you in the face and stuff?
I just thought he would stop. I mean, I didn't want it to. I was asking him.
Was it playful? And you were just like, "Hey, man, stop!" Because he was like, "Hey, what you got, huh?"
It was kind of playful, but then I think once he just kept getting harder and harder and harder, and then he just wouldn't stop. And I asked him to stop. I warned him, but
I also learned this kind of recently. I don't know. Are you gentlemen? Do you dibble and dabble in the professional wrestling? Or no?
A little bit.
Yep.
A little bit. Yeah. Okay, so there's this new show out called Tales from the Territories. Mm-hmm. It's like, wrestlers get around in the round table, blah, all this other stuff. And I don't know how far y'all go back. Have y'all ever heard of Jerry Jarrett?
Did you say?
Have you ever heard of Jerry Jarrett?
No, not Jeff. I thought I heard Jeff Jarrett. No.
But Jeff Jarrett's his son.
Okay.
Yeah, this is Jerry Jarrett. And Jerry Jarrett got in the ring with some gypsy dude. I wish I could call his name, but he said that he had so many options. He could hit him with the fist, but the fist, all the bones, could break against this right here type stuff. And he was like, maybe go for the thing. But, this is wrestling. We're not trying to kill people. And, this would collapse. And they were doing a shoot, right? So he said, quickest way, just go for that eye.
Yeah.
And he pulled out the man's eye, and it's right there. This is all it. You can look it up. I recommend anybody look up Tales from the Territory. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's common self-defense. Two primary targets: eyes, groin.
Groin.
Right.
Groin.
And
yes.
Yeah, and when you're,
that was another thing. So, do you guys miss the times when you were allowed to hit people in the groin before UFC 14?
Well, let me speak to this because, so as I mentioned before, Francis is, one of my original instructors. So he had a black belt before I got mine. And I remember being on a plane flying to Texas, and one of my other instructors, Gerald Dawson, may he rest in peace. He's passed.
Yeah.
But he told me, he said, hey, Mal, and I was an underbelt, so I was below black belt. I said, you do know the groin is a target here. And I said, what?
Yeah.
He said, yeah, the groin's a target, and it's 2 points. So make sure you don't get kicked in the balls. And I'm like, I said, hold on. I said, whoa. It's a target? He said, yeah. Texas and California. Now, I have a theory for that. Let's see if you agree with this, Francis. When he told you before, Ed Parker out in California with Kempo deals with a lot of strikes, a lot of hand strikes, a lot of slapping. I swear the whole curriculum, Kempo probably has a belt level for groin strikes, period. It's probably one of the belt levels that you only tag to the groin, kick this, that, and the other. So on the West Coast, you had that. And on the East Coast, you had Taekwondo with these high kicks. So you were seeing these fighters out there, and they're getting kicked all the way to the head. So they were like, all right, when you come to the West Coast, the groin is a target, because if you lift your leg up like that in a street fight, all I've got to do is poof, and you're going to get kicked. So therefore, when you would go out to the West Coast, anything from Texas beyond, the groin was a legal target. And I do believe that is because of the Kempo influence from the West Coast being out there.
It's hard to say, because I learned that lesson the hard way. I was visiting a friend of mine in McKeesport, Pennsylvania, and there just happened to be like a local tournament. And local tournaments are just local schools. It's at a high school gym. I was like, okay, cool. There was prize money, so I figured I'd jump in. And I am known as a high kicker. So I came in, first match, I went in to slide in and tag this dude in the face. He kind of kneeled down and popped me in the nuts. It's like, I grabbed my nuts, and I overplayed it a little bit, right? Because that's penalty.
Yeah.
Right. But he hit me solid. And then the referee was like, "You all right, son?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay now." I was like, groin strikes are legal here, right? I was like, "Oh, what?"
Do now.
Do now. Now, I ended up beating him, but that first point was a lesson. And I always tell my students, I was like, if you go to a tournament outside of the network, make sure you know the rules.
Always know the rules.